name's Tania Brookes, and I'm a guest living here in Lutruwita, Tasmania, and I work for a number of community organisations in a volunteer capacity, which include the Country Women's Association in Tasmania, and I'm the president of their online branch. I also volunteer with the RESEED Centre, which is based in Penguin on the northwest coast of Lutruwita, and they are a centre for renewable energy, sustainability, education, and run lots and lots of amazing community-based projects from there. It's a wonderful site for engaging people in sustainable living with a mixed use of residential tenancies, community spaces, an organic orchard and gardens for tenants to access. And it's also an educational space from which they host a lot of permaculture education. We run permaculture design courses, introductions to permaculture. It's a wonderful community space for connecting people who are interested in permaculture, but also just more broadly looking at sustainability and educating around how to live a more sustainable life. I'm also involved as a volunteer project manager with Live Well Tasmania, which is a not-for-profit organisation based in Wynyard, again on the northwest coast, and their mission and aims and objectives are around health and well-being for people, and looking at how health and well-being can inform sustainability outcomes. So it's about getting people out into bush environments, reconnecting with nature, looking at natural ways of healing such as forest bathing, providing health and wellbeing programs that have a more holistic view of health. So social prescribing options like, just general health and wellbeing, get out and about, connecting with nature, but also to looking at how we can respond in terms of our own healing without necessarily needing to take, traditional Western medications. So looking at how we can enhance our own health and wellbeing outcomes by creating and providing our local environmental responses to how we heal ourselves, and tapping into that sort of ancient knowledge of self-healing. They do some fantastic work out in the community, and we're just getting underway with establishing a permaculture designed farm at Aldina, which is about 20 minutes outside of Wynyard, and we are hoping to create an educational space that provides food back to community supported agriculture programs that are run by Live Well Tasmania, providing an educational space for children and young people to get them out into the bush, look at traditional bushcraft and skills, encouraging people to grow their own food, and obviously teaching people about that, but also looking at how we might be able to incorporate some affordable housing options by way of tiny houses into the space, and integrating those things. There's a particular emphasis on women, given that the current situation in Australia tells us that the fastest growing homeless demographic is actually women over the age of 55. So to have a village of women of that vintage that would be able to, help to educate around food growing and reconnecting people to the landscape would be one of the outcomes that we're looking to achieve into the future. But it is really about a whole of community approach. So it's not necessarily one or two people going off and dictating how this project is going to play out or what the farm's going to look like into the future. It's very much a work in progress, as is all permaculture design. And we're hoping to have all of the design elements that are co-designed by the community, with the assistance of permaculture elders that are based on the northwest coast, to ensure that we have that appropriate overlay of permaculture principles coming in under the ethics, but also using that as an opportunity for people to learn about permaculture design and what they need to consider as part of the process. So often when we're going off into teaching people about permaculture, we obviously learn about the ethics and the principles, and often there's not really somewhere that you can go to be mentored or to learn about, well, how do we actually implement this new learning, and where can we go to practice what we've just learned. And so this farm that we're proposing to have out at Aldina, we hope is going to provide the space to allow that to happen, with various permaculture mentors being available to help people engage in effective design, but again, ensuring that it's not just permaculturists that are involved with the design of the farm, but that we are actually getting buy-in from the community at large, because at the end of the day we're designing for community, and if community aren't having a say about how this looks, then you don't get the buy-in, and then you've got this wonderfully, beautifully designed property, whether it's in an urban setting or a farm, but you've got nobody actually engaging with it apart from the people that live there. And I think that that's a very common theme throughout a lot of permaculture designed properties. Yes, people want to have a design for their own homes, but I think in a community space, it's all well and good to go out and design it for community, but it actually has to be co-designed with the community to ensure that they are actually going to engage with the space. So all of these organisations that I'm involved with cover the entire political spectrum, from conservative all the way through to dark green political ideologies. And I think that that's really important as a permaculture practitioner to take account of how we traverse this space of meeting people where they are at, rather than trying to influence them to come to a particular understanding about where they should sit in terms of their thinking. It's really about honouring the diversity of opinions and the diversity of values that are out there in the community. And what I have come to understand by working across all of these organisations is that it's really about meeting people where they are at. It's not about you, and it's not about what you bring to the conversation. It's about listening to where they are and where they see the world and the future, and trying to bring about opportunities for bringing people together with different worldviews into a space where we can identify the commonality, and to bring people back to that shared sense of humanity, but also making sure that the emphasis is on that sort of that eco-centric focus, so that we're utilising our ethics, permaculture ethics, to make sure that actually let's just bring it back to the simple stuff. We're here for the earth, we're here for the people, and we're here to make sure that everyone is partaking of the abundance in life, and how that looks is going to depend on the community and the context. But I feel that the work that I do is really about making those human connections between people and organisations, and to have them actually working through a process of understanding and bringing them back to where they have the common ground. Yeah, look, I mean, because I am Māori, so I am an Indigenous woman to New Zealand. My ancestral homelands in the King Country, which is in the middle of the North Island, in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I have the interesting perspective of having a mother who is Māori and a father who is Australian. And so they came together as a mixed race relationship, and at a time in history when that was not the done thing. And so it was very interesting to have a foot in both camps, and to grow up in New Zealand, and to be sort of on the edge of both worlds. You were neither one nor the other, but trying to, I guess, find my own sense of belonging in the context of identity. It was never difficult for me to acknowledge any of my ancestry, because I also have European ancestry. I'm just as proud of my European ancestry as I am of my Māori ancestry. And so for me, I first and foremost bring an Indigenous worldview to my work, which is then overlaid with a more European-centric worldview, which can get a bit complicated and convoluted, but it's very much about the context and the circumstances in which I find myself, and the meshing of the two together. Holistic volunteering, I came up with this concept for a conference that I've recently been involved with the Neighbourhood Houses Tasmania network, and they asked me to come and have a conversation about some of the work that I do with the Country Women's Association. And we have a particular project which I'll get to later, but the holistic volunteering angle was really about setting out what it looks like to be involved in volunteering from a holistic perspective. And I talked earlier about the various community groups that I'm involved with, and how each of them obviously has a particular focus and a particular audience that they cater to. But when you bring them all together and you look at the connectors, you look at the synergies between the organisations, you end up with this holistic picture of what a volunteering ecosystem looks like. And so bringing in all of the elements to that that are informed by an Indigenous worldview, bring us to a sort of central notion of relationships and community, and looking at reciprocity, and looking at how we bring in all these other elements of leadership and networking and communications. And all of this, of course, is overlaid with this ecocentric view, putting Mother Earth at the centre of everything in terms of decision-making processes, in terms of design concepts. Everything has to be guided by your view of how we care for the earth. And if Mother Earth is put first and foremost, then we end up with a situation where everything is designed with preservation of ecosystems, diversity, and Earth and humanity at large. So, trying to find, I guess, the balance between where the two worldviews intersect mean that I'm able to, I guess, bring all of the sweet spots from both of those worldviews together to create this holistic volunteering idea, which is, specifically related to me, but it could be related to everybody else if they thought about it in that context. Yeah, well, look, I presented at this conference on one of the projects that I've been involved with the CWA, which was a direct response to food security. So we'll start there. And that was a project called Community Fruit Loops. And it was basically about enabling an opportunity for members of the general public and, to come together, take a fruit tree, plant it in their backyard, grow it up, nurture it, and then at their first harvest, share a portion of their surplus back with one of our community partners, who was the Devonport Seed Library. And through the Devonport Seed Library, they would distribute the surplus out into the Devonport and wider communities in the spirit of fair share. So that was the idea behind that. We also planted another 80 fruit and nut trees at the Aldina community-owned farm. And the idea for that was, again, to utilise the yields from that orchard to go into community-supported agriculture programs that are run by our other partner, Live Well Tasmania, but also to allow for the sharing of any surplus that was to come and generating opportunities for community sufficiency around food security. So that was sort of, primarily the project. We also incorporated the growing of Tasmanian edible natives to, honour what we have in terms of traditional food sources in our landscape here in Lutruwita, and it's important to make that information and knowledge available to the wider community through knowledge sharing. And as permaculturists, we have a responsibility to share what we know, not just go out and implement all of these ideas and designs into the community, but to actually share that with others so that they might feel inspired or otherwise to go out and create something similar for themselves. But this project also incorporated looking at how we could measure carbon, and most projects that we work on relating to food, we don't actually look at what is the benefit to the environment by planting either natives or edible fruit and nut trees or other plantings, and so it was an opportunity to actually again take a holistic view and see where we could identify where we were doing good work, not just for people in terms of the human-centred aspect of the project, but what were actually the environmental benefits of the work that we were setting out to do. So all of that coming together, we found it was really useful to have the community partnerships where we could bring different groups and different thinking together, again identifying the commonality across all the organisations, but then recognising that actually we can all work together. We don't need to focus on the differences. We can actually focus on the positive aspects of just being there in service to our community. Leadership is really about leaders empowering volunteers or community members to basically self-manage and to self-lead in projects that you're working on. I see myself as not so much a leader, but as a conductor. And I'm conducting all of these instruments, and we're creating this beautiful symphony together that results in this marvelous crescendo at the end, and that's what it's about for me. It's just allowing others to bring their talents and their gifts and all of the wonderful things that they are good at to the table for the benefit of the project in its entirety. And sometimes, we're actually not good at valuing our own talents because, we're all very sort of self-effacing and we don't like to say what we're good at. And there's a certain humility that comes with that, which is lovely. But at the same time, that's where all the hidden gems are. And you just want to be able to facilitate a safe space for people to bring forth that knowledge and that wisdom that they have, and to really give them a space to shine and to shine a light on their talents and to let them share those with the wider world. And for me, that's where the magic is. As I said to you earlier, I don't consider myself to be a leader. I just think that my talent is about empowering others. And for me, if you're going to be in a community space, you need to allow the people that are involved in that space to co-design and to create what the end picture looks like.